All right, guests, as you come in and grab your seats, I'd just like to remind you, if you have a cell phone on you, go ahead and put that on vibrate or airplane mode or whatever works for you. And we will go ahead and kick it off. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am Senior Chief Rickenberg, your Master of Ceremonies, and I'd like to welcome you on this special occasion marking the retirement of Petty Officer First Class Grant Stokes after 20 years of distinguished service. Please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem and the invocation. Military guests, remain covered. Chief Warrant Officer, United States Navy, arriving. Chief Warrant Officer, United States Navy, retired, arriving. Color Guard, parade the colors.
Color Guard, forward, march, left, left,
Retire the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Cohen will now offer the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this gathering today to commemorate and to celebrate the career of Aviation Oarsman First Class, Grant H. Stokes. Father, it is through your will and grace that you have allowed him to serve his country faithfully, ever steadfast. And as he enters to the next chapter of his life, we pray that you continue to do the same for him and his family, keeping them on a narrow path in your righteousness. These blessings and all the many blessings to come, we do ask of you, Father, your Son, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Chief Cohen. Guests, please be seated. Military guests, you are welcome to uncover. Bosun, post the side, boys.
side boys, left and right, base.
Good afternoon, War Officer Backman, War Officer McCall, guests, friends, and family. I'd like to welcome all of you on this special occasion marking the retirement of Petty Officer Stokes. I'd like to extend a special welcome to his mother, Marie, his wife, Bindi, and his daughters, Emmy Lou, Sapphire, and Trinity. I know that you, more than any of us, are vividly aware of the sacrifices that Petty Officer Stokes has made in the service of our country, and I speak for the entire Navy when I say how pleased we are to have you here today. We are gathered here to witness the final stage in a full and productive 20-year military career, to honor the service of an outstanding shipmate, and to thank him for his many contributions which have made our Navy a stronger and more capable force. We recognize him as a consummate professional who developed the next generation of leaders and sailors ready to meet the challenges of tomorrow. We're thankful for the opportunity to wish him every success in the future, for just as this ceremony marks the end of one phase of his life, it signals the beginning of another. The retirement ceremony you will witness today is not prescribed by United States Navy regulations, but is rather a product of the rich heritage of naval tradition. The ceremonies, customs, and traditions of today's Navy draw their origins from ancient customs and laws of the sea, begun in historic times by seafaring men. The strength of today's Navy stems in large measure from the observance of these customs and traditions, each founded on need, each contributing its share to the stability, combat effectiveness, and smooth transfer of authority and accountability. This ceremony, to recognize the distinguished career of Petty Officer Stokes, is more than just a retirement ceremony. It's a reflection of the dedication of 3 men and women serving their nation proudly. Many of the personnel in the audience today have previously attended retirement ceremonies. However, for some audience members, these proceedings will be the first and only Navy retirement ceremony they will witness. For the sake of those members, I'd like to point out that the honors we observe this morning differ each time a retirement ceremony is performed. During today's ceremony, Petty Officer Stokes will be presented with a few mementos in recognition of his performance, as well as expressions of our nation's appreciation for 20 years of honorable service. The American flag that will be presented to him today is particularly significant. Each Navy Day begins with the ceremony of hoisting the colors at 0800 and ends with the lowering of the flag at dusk. The salute in the National Ensign's honor, the ensign's appearance at sea and in foreign ports, and the careful and ceremonious way in which the national ensign is handled all deepen the flag's hold on heart and memory. The flag is a visible national symbol of the country Petty Officer Stokes has served with honor, courage, and commitment. And the flag will always remind him of the precious freedoms that he defended. The bosun's pipe that you heard during the arrival of the official party is one of the oldest and most distinctive articles of personal nautical gear. It's used to salute distinguished persons as well as to pass orders. The pipe will be used in today's ceremony as a distinct courtesy, a seaman's tribute, and a final farewell. This ceremony will conclude when, for one last time, Petty Officer Stokes is piped ashore. Ladies and gentlemen, the presiding officer for today's event is a native of Charleston, South Carolina, and currently serves as the weapons officer here at VFA 106. He was commissioned to Chief Warrant Officer in March of 2009 and served as the weapons evaluator and ordnance flight deck officer on board the USS Nimitz. He completed his master's degree in organizational leadership during his tour as officer in charge of Navy Munitions Command East Asia Division on the island of Diego Garcia. A career ordnance professional and dedicated leader, it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage our presiding officer, Chief Warrant Officer Claude Backman.
Voice never gets old, man. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, welcome everybody to retirement ceremony for Mr. Stokes. When I look at his life and everything that he's accomplished, being a Carolina man, I'm from South Carolina, so I ain't gonna hold that against you. But if you look at what he did coming out of high school, going straight into the fire department, that's a sign of service. And after doing 10 years there, and then coming into the military and doing 20 years. So nobody could ever question this man's service for saving lives, protecting lives, and taking care of people outside of himself. That's really unselfish. He has a great family that I had a chance to meet today. I hope to meet some more family members after the ceremony. But when I think about Mr. Stokes, I think of him being a humble servant, to this nation and all the great things he's done and accolades he's accomplished for helping people. So thank you again for having me be your presiding officer. And I know Gunner McCall is going to talk about some great times that y'all had together. And again, thank you. Appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker is a native of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and has had a dynamic career with a variety of tours, from air crewman in Jacksonville, Florida, to recruiter in Michigan, to ordnance leading petty officer on the aircraft carrier Independence in Japan. He served in Nevada's desert at Naval Air Station Fallon, then transferred back to Japan to join the world-famous Golden Dragons of VFA 192, then the Dam Busters of VFA 195. Leaving Japan, he joined the staff of Commander Patrol and Reconnaissance Squadron 2 in Hawaii, where he was commissioned to Chief Warrant Officer. From there, he transferred to the Wildcats of Strike Fighter Squadron 131 here at Naval Air Station Oceana, where he served with Petty Officer Stokes as AO1's Weapons Division Officer and Gunner. He finished his naval career here with the Sunliners of VFA 81 and retired in 2011. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker and 25-year Navy veteran, Chief Warrant Officer retired, Philip McCall.
Good morning. Good morning. Distinguished guests and family, it's a great honor to be asked to speak on behalf of my shipmate and my friend Grant Stokes. There's no greater honor than to be asked to speak on behalf of somebody that you serve with, you share time with, and that you build bonds with. And I promise not to be here before you long. I just want to take a few minutes to speak about one of my guys. I met Petty Officer Stokes in 2006, shortly after I was commissioned and reported to the Wildcats of VFA 131. As a new gunner, that's a tough job, and you search for people on your team that you can lean on to do the right things when nobody's looking, lead with integrity, and not be afraid to deliver information, whether good or bad. Immediately, what stood out to me about Petty Officer Stokes was his humbleness and his commitment to getting the job done. You may not believe this, but unlike most of us aviation ordnancemen, he was quiet, he didn't boast at all, and he was not obsessed with being correct all the time. I don't know. Petty Officer Stokes excelled at maintenance and documentation of work performed. You can have a lot of people that do work, but there's not a lot of people that can tell the story and document and keep you out of trouble. And he was able to do that well with precision. In the squadron, the ordnance world, all those traits mean you're going to be working night shift. Another reason I liked having him on the night shift was because it's also the most dangerous time for a personnel working on the flight deck. And I know I could trust Petty Officer Stokes with our most valuable resource, our sailors. With him on the job, I was able to get a few hours sleep. And as the gunners in here can account for, getting a few hours worth of sleep is pretty important because you don't get much when you're out there. And that's a luxury that most of us are not used to. We spent many hours on workups and cruises talking about our families, laughing about the funny things that happen on cruise. And you guys wouldn't believe the silly things that happen. And you can laugh about them now, but back then it probably made you cringe a little bit, but it's funny. His love for his family and his genuine personality inspired a lot of us and set an example for my young sailors. We had people from all walks of life, and he excelled at teaching them how to be good technicians, good sailors, and most of all, good people. Looking back now, I'm amazed at what we accomplished. I'm proud of the team we built and truly miss the camaraderie that comes from naval service. On a daily basis, we did the impossible. We kept our people safe, and we had some good times along the way. I had the opportunity to review Petty Officer Stokes' bio, and it occurred to me that in each one of his duty stations, he was entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring that procedures were followed, processes were documented in detail, and that safety was at the forefront of those evolutions. Back then, I was known as a gunner that held his people to a higher standard and made it a point to push my people to be the best they could be. Petty Officer Stokes and I shared a lot of those, I would say they're talks now, and most of them were good. Wouldn't you say? Most of them. He was always polite and respectful, and as I went on a tirade from time to time, he stood his ground if he felt he was right. I respected that about him, and I respected his input, admired his honesty, and was impressed by his technical knowledge. Sailors like Stokes made me want to be a better gunner and a better leader. Thank you for that. In the ordnance world, as well as aviation maintenance, nothing is more important than the roles he had in quality assurance, as a leading petty officer, and as a safety observer on the flight deck. And his history assignments speaks volumes of his leadership, attention to detail, and development of subordinates. Grant, some of those traits, or all of those traits, will be necessary for you as you enter the next phase of your life. Don't hesitate to share your talents with your new organization. Draw on your experiences and lead with confidence. Maybe some of those talks we shared will help you in the future. I can honestly say, after 7 years of retirement and 4 different jobs, that anything I do going forward will pale in comparison to the work that I did and we did and the people I served with in the Navy. I salute your service today. I congratulate you and your family on your accomplishments. And congratulations, my friend. And as always, I'm here if you need me. 2 things I want you to stay with you. For one, you don't have to have a title to be a leader. When you go to your new job, lead in the way you've always done, standing up, being proud, showing up every day, and being diligent. And secondly, every task is an interview. So you never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. All right? So thank you guys, and congratulations again to the family.
Chief Warrant Officer Backman will now recognize Petty Officer Stokes' performance. Petty Officer Stokes, front and center. Will the guests please rise? Military personnel, attention to award. Ladies and gentlemen, I take pleasure in presenting the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, Gold Star in lieu of 3rd award to Aviation Ordnanceman First Class, Grant A. Stokes, United States Navy, for professional achievement as Quality Assurance Representative while assigned to Strike Fighter Squadron 106 from October 2016 to September 2018. Petty Officer Stokes distinguished himself by monitoring 572 sailors and civilian personnel, ensuring compliance with 40 naval aviation maintenance programs spanning 14 work centers in support of 63 Super Hornet aircraft. His direct efforts resulted in the qualification of 6 quality assurance representatives and 5 collateral duty inspectors. Additionally, his keen attention to detail while inspecting aircraft documentation was paramount to the safe execution of 21,798 flight hours, 16,870 sorties, and the qualification of 484 fleet replacement aircrew. Petty Officer Stokes' outstanding performance has provided significant and long-lasting benefits to the Navy and marks the culmination of a successful 20-year career. Signed, B.M. Scott, Commander, U.S. Navy, Commanding Officer, Strike Fighter Squadron 106. How about a round of applause? Guests, please be seated. Petty Officer Stokes has received letters of appreciation from President Donald J. Trump and the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, as well as the Governor of the state of North Carolina. Ushers, please escort Petty Officer Stokes' family, Marie, Emmy Lou, Sapphire, Trinity, and Bindi, to the stage. Don't be afraid, we're just going to hand you something and take some pictures. To Petty Officer Stokes' mother, daughters, and wife, by the authority vested in me, it is my pleasure to express the grateful appreciation of the United States Navy to you for your unselfish, patriotic, and devoted service during your husband, son, and father's military career. Your unfailing support and understanding helped immeasurably to make possible his lasting contribution to the nation. To those who say a single man cannot make a difference, I say wrong. Your son, father, and husband did. He made our Navy stronger and kept our nation safe. With his service to the Navy now complete, he will be able to spend more time with you in the future. The United States Navy thanks you, and I thank you. Signed, Commander Brandon Scott, Commanding Officer, Strike Fighter Squadron 106. How about a round of applause for the Stokes family? All right, how about another round of applause? Thanks, everybody. I will now read the Order of the Crystal Heart, while Petty Officer Stokes makes a special presentation to his wife. Let this gold chain represent your strength that has overcome stress and strife. Let this white rose represent the beauty you brought into my life. Let the rainbow cast by the crystal represent the hope you've kept alive. And let the red ribbon represent the love that kept you by my side. But most of all, let this crystal heart represent my return from the sea. Home to my love, my life, my wife. Home at last to stay with thee. A round of applause. Thank you, Bendy. Historically, when a shipmate was going ashore for the final time, the crew would present him with a fine sword, a brace of pistols, a rifle or musket, or maybe a sea chest of fine wood bound in brass. When a sailor retired and departed the ship for the last time, it was considered bad luck for the sailor's shadow to touch land before he did. Thus, the sailor's shipmates would construct a sturdy box, handcrafted of the finest materials in which to display mementos of the sailor's accomplishments, thereby symbolically creating a shadow of the sailor. The box contained the sailor's shadow until he was safely ashore, at which time the shadow box was given to the sailor in a presentation ceremony. This shadow box was offered to remind the sailor of the crews with which he had served, battles fought, treasures won, and foreign lands they had visited. The shadow box presented to Petty Officer Stokes today contained symbols of his ranks for each step in his career. It contains medals and ribbons awarded, representing his contributions to our nation. And lastly, but most importantly, it contains a United States ensign flown in his honor over Ground Zero in New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Petty Officer Stokes' wife. She's been with him for 16 of the 20 years he served. It's my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Bindi Stokes.
Kind of didn't think I'd be nervous, but I kind of am. Thank you all for being here, for Grant. It means a lot to not only him, but to our family as well. I was at Walgreens recently, and the cashier asked me the all too frequently asked question, "Where are you from?" My usual comeback would be something like Wisconsin or Utah, maybe even Louisiana or Nebraska. But this particular time, I just told her, "I'm from Australia." And that prompted her to ask how I ended up here in the US. And I told her I married an American. That led to more questions, which led to the discovery that my husband is in the Navy and I am a military spouse. It was after that discovery that this woman asked me to thank my husband for his service, and then she thanked me. She thanked me for my service and sacrifice. It's not the first time that this has happened, but when it does, it always makes me feel uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong though. There's a small part of me in the depths of my soul that's telling me, yeah, I deserve to be thanked. I've served, I've sacrificed. I've fixed lawnmowers while he's been deployed. I've gone through workups. I need that thanks. But at the same time, it does make me feel uncomfortable. But when a sincere thank you is offered up like that, I appreciate it, and I'm grateful. But when situations like this happen, I always feel the need to somehow explain that what I do, I don't consider that to be a sacrifice. I feel like I need to explain that my husband is the one who made this decision to go talk to a recruiter. He was the one that took the oath. He was the one that signed the contract. He trained his mind and his body for what the Navy was going to put him through and leave all the comforts of home to defend his country. All I did was fall in love. And then I got married and agreed to support the career choice of the man that I love. That was my choice. I knew what I was signing up for when we got married. That in no way compares to anything what he has done in service to this country. 20 years ago, when Grant joined the Navy, he was in his 30s. And this was a second career for him. And while most of his shipmates were teenagers and 20-somethings, getting drunk and thinking about other things, Grant was thinking about how he could serve his country and be a part of something larger than himself. Without a doubt, Grant loves his country, and he's remained loyal and served the Navy for 20 years. But he showed equal and if not greater love to us, his family. He's served and provided for and nurtured us over the last 16 years in a way that I've never known. I think, according to Grant, the definition of love to him is an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person or circumstance. There have been times in Grant's growing career where his commitment to the Navy has been tested and pushed, but the commitment to his family is stable, the love is stable, and the devotion is stable. Although some of the greatest times of my life have been with Grant, it hasn't all been glitter and rainbows either. Being a military family takes its toll on even the strongest of couples. There are a few times that I wanted to quit, but Grant patiently and lovingly held my hand and brought me back from those dark moments. There were also times that Grant wanted to quit, but I wasn't about to let him get out with a handshake and an LOA. And I certainly wasn't going to let that retirement check go without a fight. Being in the military can push your family to the edge, but I can assure you it's made us a much stronger family, more reliant on one another, and better people than if we had not had this experience, and for that I'm eternally grateful. So on this day, your retirement, I want to thank you, Grant. Thank you for loving your country. Thank you for loving your family. And most of all, showing me what true love and true sacrifice really is. Thank you.
Don't stray too far from that podium because, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to present Aviation Ordnanceman First Class, Grant Stokes!
That's going to be a hard speech to follow. I'm going to do my best. I'm not gonna stay up here all day. Kind of nervous, but first, I want to say good afternoon to Warrant Officer Backman, Warrant Officer McCall, fellow shipmates, friends, and family. Well, here we are, 20 years from the day I shipped out to boot camp. I cannot believe the day has finally come for me to hang up my uniform and start the next chapter of my life. This career has been rewarding, and I have learned so much from my mentors and my fellow shipmates that I know will only help me to succeed in future endeavors. To quote the late President John F. Kennedy, I can imagine no more rewarding a career. Any man who may be asked in this century what he did to make his life worthwhile, I think can respond with a good deal of pride and satisfaction. I served in the United States Navy. I stand before you today humbled that so many of you consider my retirement ceremony worthy of your time. I would like to thank everyone for being here today to share this special occasion with my family and I. It means so much to me to know how blessed I am. As I look out at all of you, I know God is smiling at me. He is showing me that I have done something right and good. I have been and continue to be blessed by your love, your friendship, your camaraderie, and for that, I am truly grateful. First, I have some individual thank yous to give. Then I want to honor some very special people in my life. Give a brief reflection of my memories, my farewell thoughts to the first class mess, and my guidance to the junior sailors. And finally, in accordance with White standing tradition, I will give my pass down to my relief before reporting that I have been properly relieved and request permission to go ashore for the last time. First, I must give thanks, all honor, and glory to God for seeing me safely through these past 20 years. My family and I have endured the separation that goes along with being a military family. But God took those times to make us stronger and bring us closer together. The Lord knows there has been some rough roads. But He gave us the strength to overcome and persevere. And I am grateful for His continuous presence in my life. To Gunner Backman, thank you for accepting to preside or to be my presiding officer in such a short notice. Even though we have never worked together, you jumped at a chance to help out a sailor, a shipmate, and a fellow AO. That in itself shows me that you're the type of officer that cares about sailors, the type of leader that makes the Navy the strong organization it is today. It's my honor to have you preside over my retirement ceremony today and report to you that I have been properly relieved and request permission to go ashore for the last time. Thank you, sir. To Gunner McCall, thank you for being my guest speaker today, and thank you for such kind, gracious, and inspiring words. Few are the leaders of today with the motivation and passion that you exuded in everything you did while on active duty and what you do today. You were and are a sailor's officer. I think it would be difficult, if not impossible, to even find a single sailor that has ever served with you that wouldn't jump at a chance to serve with you once more. Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank the coordinators and the participants that put this ceremony together. I'd like to thank them for their hard work and their patience. I know putting together such a ceremony of such magnitude isn't an easy feat. And believe me, we've had a lot of hurdles to jump. And I'm grateful for all your hard work, all the hard work it took to see me off in such a fine fashion. You're all first-rate professionals, and it's never been more evident than here today. Thank you. To my mother, thank you for giving me your strong points, including a work ethic that made me take the opportunity to challenge myself. Thank you for doing everything in your power to ensure I could chase my dreams. Thank you for being my biggest fan and my kindest critic. Thank you for being the greatest example of love, loyalty, and of being a good person and being a good parent. I love you. Okay, this is where it gets kind of difficult. To my daughters, Emmylou, Sapphire, and Trinity, how blessed I am for each of you. Each of you, in your own special way, have challenged me to be a better father. Em, when I coached your volleyball team those 2 years and cheered you on at your track and field meets, you always amazed me. It made me so proud. You have always showed determination and strong will. Apply that determination and passion to everything you do in your life, and nothing will ever stand in your way. Sapphire, the confidence you exuded when you played your cello on stage always filled me with pride. You have always been the genius of the family. Now you're in college, studying to be something great, and I know you're going to change the world. Trinity, it seems like only yesterday we were bringing you home from the hospital. You're our little miracle child. You have been beating the odds since the day you were born. You, like your sister Sapphire, brings me so much pride when you're on stage playing your violin. You are such a confident young lady with the world as your stage, and there are spotlights waiting to shine upon you, audiences waiting to cheer for you. Earn the warmth of those spotlights. Earn the joy of those cheers. My love for each of you is immeasurable and cannot be lessened. Thank you for being you, and thank you for letting me be your dad. To my lovely wife, Bendy, you have been the cornerstone of my life for the past 16 years. You uprooted yourself and 2 young children and traveled to the other side of the planet to be with me to take this journey, not knowing exactly what you signed up for until that first long deployment showed his ugly head. This is where the rubber meets the road in testing the relationships, and many couples struggle through that make it or break it stage. I was doing some research online, and I come across this anecdote, this story, and it goes along with the speech my wife made. But this story is about the making of a military wife. When the good Lord was creating wives, he was into his 6th day of overtime. An angel appeared and said, "You're having a lot of trouble with this one. What seems to be the problem?" And the Lord replied, "She is going to be a military wife. She has to be completely independent, have the qualities of both father and mother during deployments, be a perfect hostess, run on coffee, battle emergencies, be able to handle the flu, birthdays, holidays alone. She has to have a kiss that can cure anything from a child's scraped knee to a husband's weary day. Have the patience of a saint when waiting for the unit to return home, and have 6 pairs of hands." The angel shook her head slowly and said, "6 pairs of hands? No way." And the Lord answered, "Don't worry, we'll make other military wives to help. Besides, it's not the hands that's causing the problems, it's the heart. It must swell with pride in her husband, sustain the ache of separations, beat on soundly when it's too tired to do so, and be large enough to say, 'I understand,' when she doesn't, and 'I love you regardless.'" "Lord," said the angel, touching his sleeve gently, "it's late. Finish this tomorrow." "I can't," said the Lord. "I'm so close to creating something unique. Already I have one who heals herself when she's sick, can wave goodbye to her husband from a pier, and understand that it's important to his country that he leaves." The angel circled the model of the military wife slowly. "It's too soft," she said. "But tough," said the Lord. "You cannot imagine what this woman can do or endure." Finally, the angel ran her finger across the cheek. "There's a leak," she pronounced. "I told you that you were trying to put too much into her." "It's not a leak," said the Lord. "It's a tear." "What is it for?" asked the angel. "It's for joy, sadness, disappointment, pain, loneliness, and pride." "You are a genius," sighed the angel. The Lord looked somber and replied, "I didn't put it there." "Bendy, you are and always have been my angel, my soulmate, and my confidant. During my deployments, you stood strong and never faltered. And I am forever grateful for how much you sacrificed so I could serve my country honorably. You are the original Wonder Woman. After 20 years, I'm leaving active duty today, and you're coming with me. I love you and the children we have been blessed with. That was hard. So, it was 20 years ago. I boarded a plane, and a few hours later, I found myself in Great Lakes, Illinois. It was about 1 a.m. when we arrived at the recruit training command, and it was then that I realized I may have gotten myself into something that I'm going to regret. I had no idea what the next 8 weeks had in store for me, and the 180-degree change my life was about to take. During week 1, once we arrived at the recruit training command, the Navy issued clothing and taught us the right way to fold and store our belongings and how to make our new bunks. I still fold my t-shirts in all the same way as I did 20 years ago. My wife don't understand that, but I still do. We received complete dental and medical exams. And if you needed a haircut, you got one. So that first week was filled with conditioning, swimming, marching, drilling, Navy classes, and most importantly, getting to know your RDCs, or recruit division commanders. Everything we did from this point on was designed to prepare us for what lied ahead. We were pushed to our physical limits and achieved higher performance levels that we never thought possible. Honor, courage, and commitment. Those 3 words held little meaning to me before I joined the Navy. But now, these Navy core values will become the ideals that I will learn to live by. Fast forward to week 7, battle stations. This is Navy boot camp's ultimate test. This exercise consisted of 12 different scenarios incorporating everything that we had learned in the previous weeks. We were graded on our ability to execute these tasks. Successful completion netted you the ultimate reward, a Navy ball cap. This is the ball cap I got in boot camp after I finished battle stations 20 years ago. This ball cap tells the world that you are no longer a recruit, but a full-fledged Navy sailor. Week 8 is graduation week. We made it. We put on our dress uniforms and got ready for graduation. We were all now United States Navy sailors. After today, the Navy family will always have your back, so savor this moment. Not everyone makes it. Not everyone should. A couple of years later, I deployed on my first full deployment I was talking about. This deployment was going to change the way I felt about being in the Navy. This deployment was during the tragic events of 9/11. And actually, this was the first time I was supposed to meet my wife face to face. See, we met over the internet, and we talked about getting married before we even met each other face to face. So we went through this deployment, and we were on the way home, and our last stop was Singapore. So I talked to my LPO, and I'm like, I told him the whole story, and I asked if I could take leave out of Singapore and fly to Australia, so I could meet my wife. And he said the only thing they can do is say no, just go ahead and route your leave check. So I sent my leave check up. It gets to the commanding officer, and the commanding officer said, I want to talk to Petty Officer Stokes. I'm like, oh my God, this guy gonna think I'm an idiot. So, so I went to talk to him. I told him the whole story about how me and my wife met, And he looked me dead in the eye and said, "I've never heard anything like that before in my life." And he said, "I'm going to tell my wife this story." And my wife's really old-fashioned. And if I tell her that I denied your leave, she's going to be mad at me. So he said, "I will grant you leave under two conditions: that you show me a civilian passport and your flight itinerary back to the States." So my wife got my flight itinerary taken care of for me, and I went to U.S. Embassy in Singapore and got a passport. And after that, it was the ship pulled in December 22nd on my birthday in Singapore, and it left the day after Christmas. And the day after that, I flew to Australia, and we met face to face for the first time, and that was it. 16 years later, it's still going. So, but that's my remembrance. To my fellow first classes, all of you know you're in the best position to influence sailors. You are the first line leaders, the experts, and the professionals. I have enjoyed my naval career, and I will undoubtedly miss the camaraderie of the first classes and the privilege of leading troops. I am even going to miss those old dark 30 calls from my sailors asking for advice or needing to talk about personal issues. That is when you know you're doing it right, when your troops are completely comfortable talking to you anytime, day or night, when they have serious issues going on or just need someone to vent to. Don't blow them off. Even those knuckleheads, those can't get rights, they can't stay out of trouble. Brother, I tell you, people can change. Don't ever get into the mindset that there's no help for that sailor. You cannot fail your troops ever. And lastly, remember, every one of you are leaders. You have been blessed to be able to lead others. Do not ever forget that, nor forget what that truly means. Never give up on those you are blessed to lead. You have the power to influence others. I pray you all use that power for the betterment of others and the continuing development of the Navy. There are many people that never get to lead, and I think they're missing out. To my junior sailors, advance yourself. I cannot stress this enough. Learn from my mistakes. Get a 4-year degree. The civilian job market is competitive. And being a veteran, whether you're retiring or just separating after 4 years, isn't always that golden ticket. It's much harder than you think to sell yourself to civilian management. But first, seriously think about what you really want to do post-military. Dream big. When you're alone and no outside influences, what do you think about? Where do you see yourself in 10 to 20 years? What are your actual job interests? Many of us just picked up a rate and we went through MEPS and we just went with it. Is your current rate what you want to do when you retire or separate, or do you have other ambitions? Only you know in your heart of hearts what drives you to succeed. Figure out what it is, then set yourself up for success through education and networking. Dream big, and big things will happen. I truly believe that only you limit yourself to your own thoughts and actions. Finally, remember this. There are only two kinds of people in the world: those who know more than you, those who know less than you. It's up to you to learn from those that know more and teach those that know less. Your challenge? Figure out who is who and recognize that sometimes they are one and the same. Work hard, play hard, chase your dreams. They can come true. There are so many other family and friends and colleagues that I have not mentioned, but rest assured, I am grateful for your particular role you've played or continue to play in my life. And I'm grateful that you're here to share this special day with my family and I. Thank you. So stay proud, shipmates, and continue to do the great things that you're all put on this earth to do. Strive to make a positive impact in someone's life daily, and always develop yourself above and beyond your own expectations. The Navy can be challenging. We all have had those challenges. I've had those challenges that challenged my skills as a sailor, as an ordnanceman, and as a leader. But even more, I will remember those with whom I had the honor of sharing those challenges. Some of you are here today. What I'm taking with me as I leave active duty, I'm taking the friendship, the relationships, the mementos, the memories, a monthly pitching check. I'm also leaving with a few more gray hairs in my head, some more wisdom in my soul, a few less defenses around my heart, a wonderful family, and a future full of life. What a blessing. Thank you for sharing this day with me. God bless.
Thanks, A1. Ladies and gentlemen, the detail you are about to see before you is prepared to present our National Ensign to Petty Officer Stokes. The members are all aviation ordnancemen, Petty Officer Stokes rating. Flag detail. Post. Chief Cohen will now read the poem, Old Glory.
I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard over the tallest military powers in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident, I am arrogant, I am proud. When I am flown with my federal banners, my head is held a little higher, my colors a little truer. I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am worshiped, saluted, respected, revered. I am loved and I am feared. I have fought in every battle of every war for more than 200 years. Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, the Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, the jungles of Guam, Okinawa, Tyrol, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the scores of places long forgotten by all except by those who were there with me. I was there. I led my sailors and Marines. I followed them. I watched over them. They loved me. I was on a small hill in Iwo Jima. I was battle-torn and tired, but my sailors and Marines cheered me, and I was proud. I was at Ground Zero in New York City on September 11th as cowardly fanatics attacked America. I was raised from the ashes of once proud buildings by brave firefighters, heroes who had risked their lives to save others, showing all that America, although bloody, would never be beaten. Those who try to destroy me cannot win, for I am the symbol of freedom, of one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have been soiled, burned, torn, and trampled in the streets of countries that I have helped set free. It does not hurt, for I am invincible. But when it is done on the streets of my own country by those whom I have served with in battle, it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the surely bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the uncharted new frontiers of space. I have been a silent witness to all of America's finest hours, but my finest hour come when I am torn into strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle. When I fly half-mast to honor my soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving parent, spouse, family member at the gravesite of their fallen sons or daughters, father, or mother, brother, or sister, husband, or wife, I am proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave, dear God, long may I wave.
Flag detail left face. And salute. Ready, 2. And salute. Ready, 2. Flag detail, left face. Post. Petty Officer Krause will now recite the watch.
For 20 years, this sailor has stood the watch. While some of us were in our bunks at night, this sailor stood the watch. While some of us were in our school learning our trade, this shipmate stood the watch. Yes, even before some of us were born into this world, this petty officer stood the watch. In those years, when the storm clouds of war were seen brewing on the horizon of history, this shipmate stood the watch. Many times, he would cast an eye ashore and see his family standing there, needing his guidance and help, needing that hand to hold during those hard times, but he still stood the watch. He stood the watch for 20 years. He stood the watch so that we, our families and fellow countrymen, could sleep soundly in safety each and every night, knowing that a sailor stood the watch. Today we are here to say, shipmate, the watch stands relieved. Active duty sailors in uniform, please rise and cover at this time. You are relieved by those you have trained, guided, and led. And salute. Petty Officer Stokes, you stand relieved. We have the watch. Ready? 2. Please be seated.
Bosun, stand by to pipe the side. Shipmate going ashore. This order has been passed on naval ships from the 1500s through today. It was not uncommon for the commanding officer of a ship to order up the jolly boat, a crew of 8 strong backs, side boys, and bosun, to send an old shipmate or fellow officer to his retirement home, never to sail on naval ships again. All hands on deck was passed. Speeches were made about great victories, battles fought on the open sea, raging storms weathered, and voyages to distant and strange lands with ports of call that others only dreamed about. Then a fine sword or maybe a sea chest of fine wood was presented to remind him of the ships upon which he'd sailed and the crews with which he'd served. The bosun would stand tall next to the side boys. The retiree would request permission to go ashore one last time, step to the platform, and the side boys would lower away. As the jolly boat pulled away, the gunner would fire a salute from the ship's main battery as the retiree sat in the stern sheets going ashore. Today, our Navy has given up most of the pomp and circumstance, the honors, traditions, and ceremonies back to history. Time does not give us the freedom to do these things from the past, but we still have time to stop all engines, lay about smartly, and drop anchor to pay homage to one of our shipmates going ashore, to honor the years served, the guidance, the leadership, the friendship, and the expertise that this shipmate has freely given these 20 years. Will the guests please rise for the reading of the retirement orders and remain standing for the end of the ceremony. Military personnel, attention to orders. From Commander, Naval Personnel Command, Millington, Tennessee. Request for voluntary retirement of Petty Officer First Class Grant A. Stokes is approved for transfer to the Fleet Reserve effective 31 August 2018 with a rate of Petty Officer First Class. Petty Officer Stokes will now request permission to go ashore for the final time. Aviation Ordnanceman, First Class, Grant Stokes, United States Navy, retired, departing. In keeping with a long-standing tradition in the Naval Service, Petty Officer Stokes is now returning to the head of the side boys with his wife and daughters and his mother, who stood faithfully by his side during his career. Stokes family, Grant's watch stands relieved, so too does yours. We gratefully honor your courage and steadfast devotion. We offer you all the best in your new endeavors. Navy family, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. On behalf of Grant and his family, I would like to thank you for attending, and God bless.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.